All right. Joe, we are back. We are back. Has it been a week? It feels like we were just here, but I love that. I love that. It means the week's going smooth.
Are you sure, man? To me, it seems like a month since we did the last one. Because every day that we don't talk, like it seems like a week. I really miss this opportunity to have these conversations.
Same. So that is a flip side of the token. But, sometimes it's a little bit funner when it's more than just you and I, like it was last week, right? We had a guest, and I think that, why not run it back and have a guest this week? What do you say? He likes it?
Sorry, I was having some noise on the background.
It was the milkman. It was the milkman. I was just waiting for your infamous drum roll.
Oh yeah, so man, seriously, having these conversations, you and I, is awesome. Of course, I love to hear your thoughts and everything, but having our friends over it's another level. So I really appreciate. Like last week was a blast with Vinny here. And this week, I can't wait to have our, so famous, like
right. I agree.
Celebrity, right?
I know a celebrity. Like if there's anybody that I know that is in the intersection of robotics, expertise in this field plus AI, right? Where we're headed. This is the gentleman, right? He's down in the field. He's, hands in the sand. He's actually doing this. His brain's bigger than both of ours put together. The only way I can explain how he knows how to do all this stuff, right?
Yeah. So why don't we introduce him and bring him to the show?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Drum roll, please. It is one and only Russ. Where'd he go? There he is. I thought he was like, wait a minute.
Hey.
It's Russ. Welcome, brother.
Hey,
man.
Awesome, man.
Nice to be here. I love the energy, man. I love the introduction. Even though it's exaggerated, I love it.
No way. That was nothing. That was nothing but love. Like I know even UiPath, they come to you and they want to understand and do an interview and have people explain AI in UiPath, right? So I can't think of anybody else we'd rather have up here to have this discussion, dude. So welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep.
So Joe, first it is the beers though, right? Are you drinking a beer today?
And I am drinking my old and very good.
Nice.
Steam whistle.
I have a question. Is that the same can, or did you at least get a new can?
Oh no, it's a new can, of course.
Sure, but let me get mine.
Hey, Russell, what are you gonna drink?
I am drinking. You can see what I'm drinking.
There you go, water. That's good. That's what we should be drinking. That's what we should be drinking. We'll do
just Thursday, right? So
there you go.
It's allowed Thursday to drink water.
Yeah, Joe has to get permission, so I'm drinking a Modelo Cerveza. You know, the non-fruity kind, like you like cucumber lime.
Yeah,
so. Nice.
But anyway,
that in the grocery list.
So how can we get started with this guy and Jeremy? Because there's so much I want to ask. There's so much I want to talk. I even have some difficulties to get started. You know?
Mm-hmm. Dude, there's so many topics, right? Obviously, I don't want to dive right in, right? I saw, let me see. I'm going to try this. I'm going to go to this one slide, see if I can come over here. I have a picture I'm trying to pull up real quick. Bam. All right. So I see Russ in here. I had to go back and check to make sure he was even in there, but all three of us are in here, and there's a gentleman up in the top left, you know, a certain CEO. And I know that we could dive right in, but I don't want to jump into that conversation first. Okay, I don't want to jump into, like, we can talk about agents and all that, but let's save that, right? Let's save the people. One thing I've been noticing, and I want to see what you guys think about this. Just kind of talk, because we usually kick off the show, related to jobs and work. So, first of all, have you guys seen the temperament? I saw what Dell just announced 1,500 jobs laid off. Have you guys been seeing that? You guys watching that? That's the space right now.
Intel also laid off.
Yes,
around 15,000, right?
Yes, 10% of their workforce, I think, or something like that. Something crazy.
So that's quite scary.
It's across the industry, and
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that what you'll notice too is the jobs report, right? The jobs report said that there were 20,000 losses in July just in the information systems, like IT, you know, in this space alone, right? Could you imagine 20,000 in July just for the IT sector, right? And so, you know, with 20,000 cuts, it seems like it is quite a bit across industry, but we've been storing the job information. You guys have any guesses on the number of job postings for process automation in the last month, the last 30 days?
No, I have no idea. Enlighten me, please.
Over 8,000. Over 8,000 positions.
Wow.
There's this month, according to, I've been tracking it week on week. I have the data, and I'm start doing month on month. But this month was the second best week job postings. About 4,000 job postings this week alone for process automation, which is the second highest week since I've been tracking. So it seems while there is an impact across industry, it seems like the process automation and the skills required to do this the demand continues to stay pretty consistent, would appear. So that's one good thing I noticed outside of this data. So, if you want to, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I want to just, kick this in a different way, because the more, companies are, when I see like such a movement that company just erasing thousands of jobs at once, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're clearly changing directions or the mindset, trying to save money at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Or to boost their revenue or something like that. So I cannot help myself to think, well, I am on the automation side of the company, right? Here's, I don't know if it's the best place, but it's one, the topic was to save money, because we enable the company to save money, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So in a way, I would say that for us, I don't know. I don't know if I can say that it's more safe or it's a stable environment, but I would say it's at least better than other places.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I agree to both of your points. And I think another angle there is for some companies, I've seen like specific departments being laid off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then a few months after, they not rehire, but they hire same set of roles just to do sort of a refresh. Because like if I'm new in the company, I get this sort of like I'm more engaged if I am a new joiner, and I need to do more than what someone who's already there 5 years has already been in the company. So it's like it's a refresh sort of
talent kind of spins itself over, right? And you get some natural attrition, but naturally you get new, fresh mindsets that come in too, right? So yeah, that makes sense too. I'm seeing a lot of that kind of stuff too. But I think there's no better place to segue into the main point of this discussion today is RPA and agentic AI, right? Because I think that when it comes to future-proofing your skill. Yeah, I mean, it's great that there continues to be postings for jobs, but what also we don't kind of pull out of the mix is that for IT and the applications that there are over 200% people applying than the actual offers that were rolled out, right? So it's still very competitive. And so how do you go about making yourself sort of stick out in a crowd? I think it's you understand these topics that we're going to be discussing on today's conversation around how do we go from automation and understanding what that does, and then what is agentic automation. So
how to be indispensable employee.
Yeah, there you go. An indispensable skill set. Joe, you had a thought?
To stand out from a crowd, like when you have hundreds or even thousands of applicants to the same position, like I think this is a much deeper conversation because it's not just about skills that you have, like technical skills or soft skills, like what you do or how you can do things, but also how you can present yourself, like to the hiring manager or to the software that is going to filter, because it's not a person that is going to see your resume the first time when you are applying.
Right. There's an automated system, something that Russ built that's gonna filter.
AI that he built, to just discard Jeremy and Joe. Give me someone else.
He's got them already all programmed. We stand no chance.
Our names are hard coded.
Hard coded values to deny, auto deny. There's not even exception handling.
Podcast, these two guys that does podcasts and names.
No, I mean that's a very good point though, right? Like even today, it's even more important, I think, to have soft skills and be able to stick out to people who are hiring, right? I mean, you can't just have a GitHub, and projects, and then some experience. Everybody's got that. There's people now that they're going to show up to the job, and they're going to have a YouTube channel with 100 videos of them already building solutions, right? It's not even like I don't even have to see my GitHub. Look, I'll show you, and then I'll show you that I can talk to customers as a demo. See, Forrester mentioned that, right? Forrester in the conversation with UiPath and the agentic conversation, he said, "Hey, if you want to think about skilling yourself out, it's not just about building solutions, but understanding the bigger global process, right? Understanding process engineering, understanding the applications and what happens upstream and downstream. Some of that we already knew, right? We already knew as a developer to think about adding or extending value. Are you guys gonna think about doing more agentic process automation in your future? Are you guys where you guys kind of where you guys feel like the on-ramp is if you're a developer now and you're getting started and you're hearing about agentic? What's the on-ramp for you?
Yeah, so you go.
No, because I want to just add to the question, and before we jump to the agentic type to discussion, like I would like to hear Russell's thoughts on the actual core RPA, right? We have been talking since the beginning, right? So what's the future of RPA, right? And I kind of believe that I know what you're going to say, but I would like to hear your thoughts on this, what is the future for the core RPA and where the agentic automation comes, and how it's going to complement the other.
And start with an intro too. I totally forgot. Like we already know Russ, so it's natural. We already know his background. So tell the listener, tell the audience like a little bit. How did you even get here? A little bit about your background, and then answer Joe's incredible question. Where it's headed.
Yeah. And again, first, thanks for inviting me to this show that you have. And I know.
Thank you.
And I love the energy again. So, introducing myself. Russell Alfeche. I'm part of the UiPath community, MVP circle like you guys, who evangelizes not only product, but also the solutions that we've been implementing with our customers, with our partners. My background is electronics engineering. I came from, that's my academic background.
Nice.
And that's 7 years, around 6 years ago. No, even 10 years ago. I came out of college and then I did apply at Sony. So Sony, right?
Mm-hmm.
Big in the consumer electronics space.
Absolutely.
So I went there for a year, and then I think it's a logical step for me to do to transition to software, even though even though our subject that time is not really focused on software, but more on embedded systems in the hardware stuff, right?
That's cool though.
So but it's a logical transition as well, because whatever I learned in the university, I can definitely still apply, especially the logical pieces, how the architecture, all the solutioning and stuff that around technology, around even AI, right? And that is in every palm of our hand, in every electronics that we have, they have software. Yeah. Software and hardware always comes together. So I transitioned to software in a very large consulting firm, and I championed one of their automation initiatives, right? So back then, no UiPath yet. We're doing batch scripting, VBA, all those.
So you're just like building macros, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and there are we support the geospatial systems.
I was about to say, who is your customer? Geospatial systems for who? NASA? Who are you working for?
These are utility energy companies.
Okay.
In different states. And
should have said NASA. No.
Should have oriented me.
Yeah. So that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, that's so. And then came UiPath, right? When I heard and used UiPath, there's no turning back, right?
When is this? What year is this?
2017. Yeah,
okay.
2017, 2018, something like that. And then so there are more automations that were built, so more throughput, more.
And they had like the reframework already, so they were established, and
it's just the core RPA back then, Studio, Robots, and
Orchestrator. That's it. Windows Simple.
So, very simple life, but still, it caught the attention of different consulting firms, different large companies, right? So then RPA race began, right?
Yeah.
And during that time, there were hackathons. I joined one hackathon, and fortunately, I won this in the Forward EMEA. They have this Power Up hackathon.
So
that's my first time attending Forward, which is really, really great experience. I get to meet Daniel around 2018 of October, and some for very small community back then. It's like less than 100 members in the community, and that was a very fun experience.
That's cool.
There, and also being at the stage, being awarded with all that stuff. But yeah, so again, once I started UiPath, there's no turning back to any other technologies. Of course, their integration. The fun thing with this technology is not only you can use UiPath, but as you automate all these different end-to-end processes, you get introduced to other technologies that you can use for the integrations, right? Whether it's AI, whether it's system of records, or other things,
Yeah.
you get to touch each and every system. So it's not just the technology UiPath that you're touching, but you're also touching the whole business processes and making it more efficient.
And do you feel like when you kind of learn that stuff that you learn a lot of business knowledge too? Because I found that being a part of RPA teams, when I would go to somewhere like USAA and we would do like PNC type automations or banking type automations, it just naturally happens that you learn a little bit about business when you hear them explaining what they're doing, right? And it's like you'd never, it's sort of like this double educated thing where you're learning RPA, which is its own business, but you're learning the business of insurance, you're learning the business of manufacturing, you're learning the business of, you know, research and development. You feel like that's something that is a bonus as well? I feel like that's a bonus.
Exactly. I learned master data management. I learned different shared
See, exactly. What does that even mean? You're confusing me already. It's big brain.
I even learned how the so there's one use case that how the when you on the ATM machines, right? When you withdraw cash, right?
Yeah.
So there are mainframe systems that it connects to, and different processes just by doing that particular consumer very common like consumer function, right?
Yeah.
At the back of it is very complex process, right? And that's a privilege for us as automation developers that we get to know all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Plus being able to contribute and making it more efficient and streamlined, right?
Nice.
So to your question, Joel, don't worry, I didn't forget your question.
I was going to say, I forgot. I'm going to that's what he said. What was it again? Yeah.
Automation, it may not be called RPA because RPA is like a marketing word, I may say. I mean, what the essence of RPA is being able to streamline a process that used to be very mechanical, very but structured and very disparate coming from disparate systems, right? So that is here to stay, and because of this new like marketing buzzwords that they call agentic, it will just complement. These are complementary, right? You cannot call a process as an agentic automation without the word automation, right? It may be agentic because it can respond and converse with you, right? And probably search Google or something, or probably look at your mailbox. But what it provides more value is if it can do actions for you, if it can do something that's tangible for you. And that's where automation is. And it's always, they should always come together, right? Not one or the other. So
that's very interesting. So do you think that in a way it's what AI as a whole is, right? Or even RPA itself, right? The concept of RPA is like assistant, right? Assistance, assisting the users, right? Initially attended or unattended, right? So now we have the person, the automation assisting the person, the agentic process assisting the automation that is assisting the person.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? I think there's so many. I was doing a lot of research in preparation for my presentation at Forward, and there's already quite a few proposed, or I would even say proposed, some people have applied agentic models, right? What does that even look like? And, you know, we thought we were just being very vague here when we see agents and processes, right? But I mean, definitely, tying this into what we initially started on, the conversation we had with the CEO of UiPath, just this week, it seems like it takes quite a bit though, right? To build action models, to build something like this kind of system. Something to me, even if we're going to, I'm sure you guys are both familiar with RAG, right? Even if we're going to talk about the actual successful business use cases right now, it's still not something that's just, it's easy, right? What do you guys think? Is it easy to leverage? It's very impressive. But how easy is it to actually leverage?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've seen a couple of use cases, or not seen because we've implemented use cases where we leverage retrieval augmented generation, like what you said, right? Because in fact, it was just made publicly available in the UiPath use case repository right now. So for this particular customer, we have implemented this contract pricing sort of analysis extraction solution, because the challenge is this fintech customer, a very large fintech customer that is 100 years old, more than 100 years old, century old. So they have clients where on a yearly basis they can increase pricing or they negotiate pricing, right? So in order to make a proper decision on how much they can increase or negotiate, right? They have to look at this contract, right? And so many clients, and this client, each of the client would have different amendments, statement of work over the course of the years. So previously, how they manually do it is manually read. Imagine 50, 200 pages documents. They had to read it. I can't even imagine if I won't do it. I'll just resign.
Welcome to law school. No, I
go. So the fact that they have to do it is they aren't able to completely read it all, right? It takes 10 readers. They pull 10 readers away from their day job, and for 2, 3, 4 weeks, all they have to do is just that.
Right? That sounds horrible.
Because the data is there. I mean,
it's a punishment.
The thing is, the data is there, but there's really the pulling those data is very painful, right?
I can imagine, like, I have somebody like Joe, and I just don't like him, and he's been causing me problems, right? And I just think, like, hey, how do I get this guy to leave? Like, oh, sorry, Joe, I know you just rolled off of reading these contracts for 4 months, but I got to put you right back on. Here, you got to go back, do another rotation. Like, I got done. Yeah. He's like, I quit. He quit. He's like, I'm not going to read any of those contracts. Joe has left the chat. Perfect time. But no, I mean, so that's a good use case, right? Like being able to because here's my problem, right? My first question to you guys is, I think that the models, as great as they are, even like GPT-4 and all of that, right? It's they're doing agentic in the background, and they're having that's how they're getting the improvements, right? It's not actually the model or the data. It's very interesting, but what I think that the existing models today, though, they're too dumb, right? I can't take I can't just take a GPT-4 and just go into an organization and it just be producing value, right? I think the only way through value is RAG, right? You guys think that? I think they're almost useless without that right now.
Yeah, I mean, it depends because there's two things, right? So the goal is for the model not to just generate, but also generate an accurate response, right? Because most of the time it will hallucinate, right? Because it's trained with all of this data points. So that's where this two approach comes in, right? It's either RAG, if you want for the model to answer based on the knowledge base or information that you have, without and not having it to generate or perform a new task, right? Just getting an information out of the model using an existing knowledge base. So that's RAG, right?
Yep.
But if you want to make it perform, and if I say perform satisfactorily a specific task that it was not generally or specifically trained for, then it's fine tuning, right? So fine tuning is more like effort. It would take more effort than doing RAG. But most of the use cases that I've seen, I think 80% is just RAG, right?
Yep.
And one of the best example in terms of fine tuning that UiPath themselves did is the doc path, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they even call it a sort of confined or specialized LLM just to do a specific task, right? Remember, if it's a specific task that you want LLM to specialize for, then it's fine tuning. If you want new information coming from LLM, no new task, it's just RAG, right? And I think they did it perfectly with DocPath. In fact, in the challenge that I mentioned to you just now, so that's what I immediately thought of during the time when they presented us the challenge.
Yeah.
Hey, I can do this in just. In fact, we did it in just a week. So we just used DocPath, just created the prompts, and then boom, they just need 2 readers, less than a week. Surgical analysis on each of the contract rather than broad brush. Hey, 20% increase, which pissed customer off. In the contract, you only have a cap of 10%, but you increase 20%. That really would piss them off.
Yeah.
So this really made a difference, not only in the efficiency, but really on the output and in the customer service that they provide. Or so the pricing now was very surgical instead of broad brush.
Yeah.
So
which I think is very effective, right? I spoke on a AI and RPA webinars. I think it was like a year or two, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago now. But it was talking about how do you leverage AI even then, before LLMs were available. How do you leverage AI and RPA together to get value like that? And one of the ways that we did it is, if you know, like large financial organizations like PennyMac and Ocwen in the U.S. that deal like in the mortgage industry, and you know, there's like, or just large financial institutes, they sell off books of work to third parties, right? They'll shave off parts of the portfolio. Maybe it's monitoring homeowners insurance, right? And they'll just sell this book of work. And there are companies out there, that's what they focus on. They go and they do partnerships, and they'll do outsourced work for banks, right? And so what they were doing is they were just taking the companies that would do this, they would just take a portfolio of loans, and the bank would tell them a little bit about the loans, but they would just make a guess on what it would cost to service it, right? They'd say, hey, it's going to cost us $5 per loan, right? And they would need 40 million, but there's nothing really about it, right? There's nothing that was, they really weren't making any scientific decisions. And so what we did do though, is like using robots to read the data and basically do data science activities to organize the data, clean it up, do some scrubbing, and then applied algorithms to look for patterns in the information. And so we look for geographic patterns. We'd also compare that information to historic portfolios. So we'd have chunks of portfolios, and we'd say, hey, are there any correlations between this portfolio they're trying to sell to us and the work that we already have? And then we would try to take cost understandings of what it took to maintain those loans, and then we would make pricing based off that, right? And it wasn't like, hey, well, how many loans? You know, we're just going to say it's $20. So, yeah, I think there's a good cases where you can use AI and the data, right, to make solid decisions. How accurate was it? Did it get? Did it have to be like 90%? What did you said you did it in like a week or two. How?
Yeah. So it's a combination. So from 10 readers to just two readers, right? And all they do is just
10 to 2.
The validation station, the action center. And they just have to click through it and then skim through it. Along the way, there are some prompt engineering sort of that happens so that it gets more refined.
Yeah, sure.
The specific percentage or something. 10 different attributes you have to.
So there you go, Joe. You only have to do it once a year instead of once every 2 months, like with the 10 readers.
Yep.
What was the overall accuracy of this?
Yeah,
model?
there you go.
Yeah. Can I share my screen actually?
Yeah, share it. Instead of your face, and we'll see what happens. I'm down to see what happens. We've never tried it. This is a freestyle And that one Modelo, that 5% little skinny boy, got me tipsy. So I'm just wild enough to try it. You try it, Russ. Or if you can't share, then you just can tell us.
Yeah. Hold on.
And while he's doing that, Joe, I'm gonna pour a drink of Booker's.
Nice.
This is 7 years old here. It says age 7 years.
I've just opened my second steam whistle.
Nice.
There we go. And just so you know, this one was pulled on the rainy weeks ahead of the Kentucky Derby, it says.
Nice.
I don't even know what that means.
So this is great because right now we're not even talking yet about LLM agents. This is just integrating the automation solution that's UiPath and leveraging this integration LLM with RAG, right? And it gets more interesting once we go to the discussion around agents. And I think I can share a pretty good some examples as well. But this one, can I share my?
I think there's a share button next to the wrench. The configurations. There's a.
I have no idea how it'll pop up though, because I got this tied into his webcam, I think. So we will see. I can do something really quick, though, haven't I?
Did you find it? Oh yeah, there we go.
Oh, it's an Inception screenshot.
Good thing I didn't.
Okay, so this is the exact. So this is hot off the press.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me see. Okay, I might have been able to kind of wing this thing.
Yeah, I think on this stream, I don't know how this is going to look like.
Yeah, I don't.
You can zoom. You can zoom in. Just zoom in. You just got to zoom into the text, make it bigger, and it works. I see it. So can you control? There you go. Yeah, control. Make it bigger. Make it bigger. Give us the text. There we go.
Oh, there we go. Oh, okay. That's nice. So yeah, I mean, what I just wanna show you is the this different metrics that they measured. How many documents?
This is not a sponsored segment, by the way. I'm just messing around. I'm just messing with you.
Sorry about that. This is the actual use case, and again, hot off.
That's cool. 99% increased time to value.
Yep. So in terms of accuracy, I mean, you could say upwards of 90 because they only have to check 1 or 2 probably fields, and they even have to check the other fields. And they just click through the action center, right?
Yeah.
So, and this is like, I don't want to just go through this, but this is one good example of how companies would leverage Gen AI into the existing automation solutions. So, Gen AI is the thinking piece, right? But there still needs to be something that acts after that output from the knowledge, right?
Okay.
So and that's where the bots are very useful for. Right?
Do you before you jump in, Joe? I have a question for him, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I have a thought. So what you were talking about? I think you might have mentioned you're leveraging RAG here, plus, an agent or AI. What's the build look like on this? Is it 80% built in UiPath and then 10% you're building with, how would what's the consistency of this, right? Is it what's the
So I would say it's so when it comes to the overall package or solution, it's UiPath, right? So we have main piece is the document understanding framework.
Yeah.
Document understanding framework with generative extractor plus Salesforce integration to fetch the contracts from their contract lifecycle management system.
Yep.
Amazon Bedrock. I haven't mentioned about the last piece, which is the analysis piece, right? So once you have extracted these 10 data points across these documents, right, let's say one client, five different contracts or agreements over the course of the year. After you extract all those information, you have to have an analysis output what is the trend, the price increase, what are the price notification period. So being able to ask a large language model using the data that was extracted and be able to provide the initial analysis per se. So that's what they need to look at, right?
Yeah.
So they already have the extracted information, the data point that they need, and now the solution also provides them a summarized view of what's happening with the data that was extracted. What's the trend? What's over the course of 5 years? What's the changes that happens with these contracts? So instead of again reading through all night this documents and by themselves and being able to provide sort of an essay of what of the analysis are. This is for this particular client. This is really transformative. And one thing I would also want to highlight is this is in the case study as well. Is initially they are hesitant, right? Which is very typical, right? With someone who hasn't worked with technology and focus on the business processes. So they would just want to do what they got used to be, how they are used to do certain things. Right?
Yeah.
So initially they are hesitant, but once we deliver the project, right, that the hesitation turned into fascination, right? And that's for me, that's the biggest thing. And and the biggest win for me as well is being able to get these kinds of feedback from the users themselves that hey, well, when we started this sort of use case,
Yeah.
And realized the value. So I also now started this AI course because you open up my eyes in the possibilities here. So it's verbatim, right? So these users are able to like because of the things that the possibilities that they've seen, they themselves are now very interested in learning more, right? And now they are enrolling with this Google AI course and priming themselves as well in this technology.
So my brain's gonna explode, Joe. You better ask some questions because I got like a billion I could think of when it comes to like popping the hood. We could get technically, we could get granular, we could get general. I mean, man.
Well, I have so many questions because, to be very honest, you guys, excuse me, just a second. So I can kind of surf on the wave that you guys are going.
Joe, you had 5 minutes to cough, man. Come on.
Excuse me. Oh, I don't know what happened. Let me see if there was in my throat. Okay, so I can kind of surf on this wave, AI wave that you guys are going through. I can pretend that I understand, but to be honest, I think I am far behind you. You both, like you guys, seem to know much more than I when it comes to AI. So I'm gonna just create a fork here a little bit because Russell, you were saying something that I felt a lot when I was initiating my RPA development career, which is the hesitancy, people not willing to automate, people not wanting to get their process automated, people reluctant or just not providing you the information. And even after you do all the work, you create something for them that's going to help them, they don't use it, right? Because I have my own thoughts, but I want to ask you, so what do you think that people have in their minds when they don't want the automation to work?
Yeah, very good question, and I can attest to that as well. Because don't get me wrong, it's not all like success and and done the things, the solutions that we've deployed. Sometimes, like what you said, right? So hesitant right at the start, and even after we deploy, they still won't want to use it. And I think it's mainly because, so probably if I can compare this with the one that I have just mentioned, it's more on continuous like communication and collaboration with these teams that made the difference, right? So this technology that we use, or the part of the solution, is really needing the domain knowledge of the users, right? So that's why we are really obliged, or not, I won't say obliged, but this has to be done for every use case.
It has to be a partnership.
Yeah, it has to be a partnership, right? Uh, Specifically for the prompt refining, I cannot just refine the prompt just by myself and then providing the samples. I have to get inputs from them to refine the prompt in a much more appropriate way, and this has to be a two-way conversation. And that's where really Action Center made it easier for us as well, because we have several working sessions during UAT. So again, I mentioned that it's a working
work in progress.
Yeah.
Are you tracking like the progression on like one shot, two shot, and and stuff like that?
Yeah, sometimes.
What is that? What is that one shot, two shot?
So one of the biggest issues, and he's hitting it on the head, but I have this pet peeve, right? I have this pet peeve when I hear people hyping up prompt engineering, right? Come get my prompt guide. Here, let me teach you how to be a great prompter. And the reason I say this is because I feel like that skill set's going to die quicker than being able to use MySpace. And the reason I think that is because the senior scientists that understand the problem here is all of our AI, currently it's one shot, meaning I type into a system and I just tell it what I want, and then it goes and does that. So you imagine, like, if the requirement was, Joe, I said, hey, I want you to go and write me a 10-page article about football, soccer, right? And I want you to start, and I want you to write it from the beginning to the end, all 15 pages, without taking a break and without messing up. And you have to understand that, right? So one shot is like, basically you get one opportunity to complete the task. And what we want AI to do, we need it to do at a very high level. We're not talking 80%. It needs to be like 99% accurate if we're going to leverage these things. And at one shot, it makes it very difficult. So by two shot and three shot, we're basically sort of iterating through this process where there's a scenario that it's kind of refining what we're asking, and then it's going through it. And then there's a loop where essentially it can refine its response and what and how it gets the information back to us, instead of just trying one approach and giving us back one shot. I also think there's going to be a convergence of how we even communicate, right? Because if I'm having this conversation with Joe, if I tell Joe something and he doesn't understand, the first thing he's going to do is ask for some context. He's going to ask me a question, right? He's like, what do you mean football? You talking about football or soccer? Right, it's the first thing he's going to ask, right? And so I think these models eventually they'll get one shot. It won't be one shot; it'll be multiple shots. Plus, it'll ask for clarifying context. He'll be like, "What did you mean?" Right? And I think that'll be more powerful. But that's what I was speaking of on like one shot, two shot. And so I was curious,
do you mean that in the context of prompt? Like you prompt the AI, you ask a question, and then you just have to ask a new question to get what you want, like.
Probably to add on that, I think the key component there is the prompt and the samples within those prompts, right? So there's even a zero shot, right? So one shot is like, this is the question and this is the sample answer. So that's one shot. In another sort of analogy, it's you're focusing just on the prompt. Zero shot is you don't provide any samples at all, right? So that also, thanks for bringing that up, Jeremy, because that definitely is one way we are able to refine the prompts, right? by collaborating. Again, this is.
I have an example too I can throw up too. You guys want to look at it? An architecture of this, like, have you heard of mixture of agents? Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll throw it up on the real quickly on just the stream and kind of zoom in for it so we get this a little bit of better view, right? But here is what is sort of a structure. It's called a mixture of agents, and then you have your initial prompt. Whatever that is, it's input. And then there's different agents, not just, only an LLM, right? There might be a quality agent. There's all sorts of different things that you can do, but it'll go through an iteration where it'll break down our prompt and what the requirements are. And each agent will have its own specific task that it's supposed to do for that prompt. And then there's a layer to it. So there'll be one layer that's handling our prompt. It will refine it, break it down, and then it'll hand it off to another layer. And so you'll see multiple shots or multiple iterations of trying to get what you want, the final output, essentially something like that. So that's one example. But I think that the thing is, this is technology and these are architectures that are still being scientifically proven or decided, right? So I had that example and you were mentioning it. I thought it might help bring some context
absolutely.
to that.
Yeah. And since we're on this agent topic, I think so now from just using an LLM, right, to perform a contextual answer, right, by using RAG or fine tuning and making it more primed for your use case, right? So where does agents come in, right? As you said, it can be sort of a layer where different agents can interact and feed output from each other. So not that, because the difference between just using LLM with RAG or a fine-tuned LLM between an agent is the decision piece, right? When it comes to LLM agents, right? I've used LangChain because as a framework. So when it comes to LangChain, so they have, so in LangChain you can create agents as objects, right? So agents, given a goal, right? Given a goal or given a prompt or given a question that you provide to an agent that has a set of tools. So that agent could be able to plan.
Oh man!
Create a thought or observation, and then execute using the tool that you provided, right?
Yeah.
So this is where the different frameworks come in, whether it's react or reasoning and acting, or the
reflection,
chain of thought.
planning step, and all of that. Yeah, there's some very reflection is a very one that's very the research on is pretty active, right? And they're finding a lot of sense in that, which is also giving like agents memory, right? And essentially like being able to have memory. So, but how if you're like Joe, like I mean. And I first of all, let me step in too. Like I have to be real, right? Or imposter syndrome will eat me alive, and I won't sleep an hour tonight, right? I am not Russ. Russ builds these things. I've just spent a couple hours on YouTube, like researching it. That's the only reason I sound like I know what I'm talking about, right? So, but so now that I've exposed, my honest, awareness and the depth of my knowledge here, Russ, if you're talking to somebody like Joe and I, and we're just traditional RPA developers, where do we start? How do we get into the space how do we make our brains as big as yours? What's the first step here? Where do we go? What do we learn?
First is drink this water.
All I have is bookers. What's step 2 then? Where are we learning? Do we focus on LLMs, right? Do we focus on understanding agents? Do we, where do we go? Where's our entry point? You mentioned the power of DocPath. Is learning RPA and DocPath good enough? Maybe I don't even need to be an agent. You think that's a good enough space? What's your opinion?
Well, but then
Joe, what do you got, Joe? Yeah.
We're assuming that we are already RPA core developers, right?
Yeah.
So someone with core RPA development, what should we do?
Yeah. Yes.
And I think so. If someone with a skill set as yours, both of you, in this automation space, I think this is the right track, right? Because it's a logical step to make these automations that we're building have more decision-making capabilities using these more intelligent tools like large language models or agents, right?
Okay.
So you're on the right track. And if you are focusing on, like, I don't think you're just a UiPath sort of like technology focus, right? You could be interacting, or you could be building on some sort of framework outside of UiPath, right?
Yeah.
What I would say is first is so there's this glass half full and glass half empty kind of guy, right? So be always open in learning new things. What I do, in fact, I'm just the same way as you, without any exaggeration. I just watch YouTube, and the way I would really learn and absorb those is just opening the notebooks, the Python notebooks, on those YouTube videos, and just running through it, right? And then once I get myself acquainted with the concept, right, I then try to implement it on my own, and then think about use cases that I've seen in my company that, hey, I could have done this much easier if I use this. And without this, it's a much complex architecture, but with LLM, just two pieces, right, interacting together, for example. Right? So learn, be open in learning. I really, and I consider myself, I don't consider myself as an expert, right? I consider myself as just an average type of person doing this kinds of stuff, so I can take in more learnings.
No, me neither.
So I can.
What are we? What are we then?
You are.
That's true. What are we? Because I am far behind that for sure, brother. You are over here using. You just showed us a use case, 99%. The implementation. You scared Joe off again, right? You scared he left the chat because you're being too modest. I already pulled the YouTube card. You can't pull it too, but hey, man, we're at last call, so you know what I'm saying. What are your thoughts, Joe? Any final questions? He said, hey, what I heard is keep understanding, language models, understand what that does. You're in a good spot if you do that, right?
Okay, yeah. I do have a final question. Very simple, very quick. Can we extend for another hour?
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah. I thought it's just 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, we still got some time. I know with the big brains, right? If I don't like slow the train down, right, you gotta like and pull it down.
But one thing that I wanna say, like, in terms of learning and what I want, what I should learn, what I want to learn, for people that are already doing things, like already deploying, already creating automation, I think it's very essential to assess what is the environment, what do you have at your disposal that you can play around, right? Because it's one thing to do on your computer, to learn for yourself, and just to play around and do things. That is awesome, right?
Yeah.
We all do that on our own time. But when you have the opportunity to do that professionally speaking, like in a professional environment that people can actually see what you're doing and leverage that and use that for their benefit is another level, right? So one thing that I would say, and that helped me when I started with UiPath, and helped me many other times when I started doing other things, is keep your eyes peeled to the environment, right?
Smart.
Open your perspectives to whatever is there available at your disposal, and you can learn from that, and you can get something out of it, right? Because see, there's many different profiles of professionals. Like, many people just want to collect a paycheck and go home.
That's very true.
That's okay, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I am not that kind of person, right? I'm the kind of person that goes above and beyond whenever, like,
I love
always, always, right?
That's why we get along so well, Joe.
Yeah, that's why this show is working, and it's going to be like 50 plus episodes.
100, 200. I'm not stopping.
Okay.
I'm not stopping.
Don't try me. I will say 1,000.
Well, if that's the case, Russ, you're going to be back quite a few times, right? To keep us on par.
Yeah, but I will leave at that. But you got what I was saying.
Yeah, I was hoping we could do another hour. I thought we were here for 5 minutes. Right?
Just getting warmed up. No, just getting warmed up. Yeah, what are your thoughts, Russ? I mean, we had a nice long conversation. It went so smooth, but I mean, closing parting thoughts. You know, I have my own thoughts, but I'll keep it short and brief. I'd love to get, you know, your and on top of it, right? Any cause you want to promote, right? If there's anything out you want to shout out, anything that you're doing, you know, I give you the wills, man. You got some free airtime. Any closing remarks? What do you got?
Yeah. As I said, learning is a journey, right? I mean, in order to be on the next version that you want to be, or the goal that you want, so just keep learning. There are lots of resources out there. This is the one time you're on YouTube, another time you're in an RSA or the reading a paper, or one time in a Jupyter notebook trying out things. So just try out things, break things, because that's how you learn, right?
Yep.
And that's how I learn. And also, I learn by sharing, of course. So, like in the community, I learn by teaching as well, because I would say that's the best form of learning, because in order to teach a topic that's complex and break it down and dump it down into a level that's consumable to everyone, you have to learn it as much. You have to be at let's say expert level in order to dump it down in a consumable way, right? So teaching is the best form of learning, and sharing is the best form of gaining knowledge yourself as well. So that's my experience interacting with the community, with you guys as well. In fact, I prepared some demos, but I don't think we have time.
We're gonna save it for another session. Hey, and the good thing about it is there'll be more of these. Joe and I aren't slowing down. I think we're finding a passion for this. And I'm not a rocket ship, right? I'm not the kind that takes off fast. I'm a train, right? Freight train takes momentum. And your brain, it excites me. I think that you're incredibly smart. I think you don't give yourself enough credit, and I can't wait to have you back and really like get some demos, right? Get some opportunity to not only just talk about this theory, but, you know, show some builds and stuff. So I think there's a lot of value in that. And I'm not gonna make it any more than what you guys did. I agree with you 1,000%. I think that's why we all get along so well. Growth mindset. That's the term, right? Yeah. If you want to be in this space and you want to continue, right? One thing is very apparent. Just have growth mindset. Keep your eye, like Joe said, on the side. Make sure you're interested. And then I think the next step is just like what Russ said. Once you find something you're interested in, don't stop at surface level. You're not going to be where you want to be if you just learn something. Find something you're interested in, build it out, spend hundreds of hours, crack open the notebook, get good at something. That's the next step, right? So, man, I love it, you guys. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I got to get out. I got a crazy 3-year-old. He's going to break down the door. The wife's going to come any second. So, hey, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for hopping in there, man. What do you got, Joe? What do you got? Wrap us up, brother.
No, just want to thank you, Russell. It was a pleasure. It was like mind-blowing session that I learned. At least I tried to learn as much as I could. But definitely we have to get you back because I couldn't get everything. Right. I'm dumb when it comes to AI, so I need to talk to you again.
He's going to need a 2-shot and a 3-shot. We'll bring it back.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's take it out, guys. Gents, have a good one. Later, everybody. Later. All right, we are good, gents.